Our top story at this hour, new guidelines issued by the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say that people who have been fully vaccinated can safely meet other vaccinated people without wearing face masks. The CDC directives also said that fully vaccinated people can also visit those who haven't received a vaccine or low-risk people from other households without the need for masks. Now, it cautioned that fully vaccinated people, they should continue to avoid large crowds and continue to wear masks when interacting with people with multiple households especially.
CDC recommends that fully vaccinated people can visit with other fully vaccinated people in small gatherings indoors without wearing masks or physical distancing. Remember, here we are talking about private settings where everyone is vaccinated. So what does this mean? If you and a friend or you and a family member are both vaccinated, you can have dinner together, wearing masks without distancing. You can visit your grandparents if you have been vaccinated and they have been too. CDC recommends that fully vaccinated people can visit with unvaccinated people from one other household indoors without wearing masks or physical distancing, as long as the unvaccinated people and any unvaccinated members of their household are not at high risk for severe COVID-19 disease.
The guidelines address how vaccinated people can safely resume some normal activities and contact with those outside their own households. The recommendations come as about 31 million people, or 9.4% of the US population, has been fully inoculated with COVID-19 vaccines made by pharma giants such as Pfizer, Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. Nearly 18% of the US population, or 58.9 million adults, have received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Currently authorized COVID-19 vaccines prevent people from becoming severely ill, but not necessarily from being infected. Data on whether vaccinated people can still spread the virus to the unprotected is sparse. The CDC also maintained that there has been no change made to its travel advisory and that it still recommends that people delay travel and stay at home. However, some cities and states have already begun lifting pandemic restrictions against the advice of public health experts. WION's correspondent Kate Fisher is joining us live from Washington for more on this story. Kate, welcome to WION World is One. Now, fresh guidelines coming in from the CDC saying that people who have been fully vaccinated can now safely meet other vaccinated adults without wearing masks. This puts plenty of confidence in the vaccination. Tell us more.
Absolutely, and I think it will be really great news for so many Americans we are now at a year since those first lockdowns were imposed here in the US, and there are many, many Americans who really haven't interacted with other people at all for over a year now. These guidelines, they are still timid. They are not saying that we can all go out and party and visit each other and have large gatherings. But I think for particularly, say, grandparents, this is a huge boost to them. Many grandparents haven't been able to see their children or grandchildren in person for a year. And assuming they have been vaccinated and the members of the household they're going to, so their children and grandchildren, are not at high risk of COVID-19, these changes to the guidelines mean that they can now visit their families, even though they may not have been vaccinated themselves, as long as the grandparents have had the jab. And I think that's going to make a big difference to the mental health of many of the older Americans.
Right, Kate. Now, can this also be seen as a move to encourage more people, and skeptics in particular, to get inoculated as the US seeks a fast economic recovery from the pandemic?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it that one of the reasons that the CDC has gone for this relaxation in guidelines is because they want to persuade more Americans to get the vaccination. There is a problem here that there are parts of the community who don't believe the vaccinations are safe, either for religious reasons or cultural reasons. There is, for example, with the African American community, historic experiences where predominantly a white healthcare system has treated black people badly and used them in experimentations and not told them about it. That is a big issue for the African American community, and they have trouble trusting the healthcare system here. So this, the CDC is hoping, will encourage more people to get the vaccination.
Right, Kate, my final question for you. Now, this is the top medical authority in the US saying that if you are vaccinated against COVID-19, you don't have to wear masks indoors. Is this going to make people put their guard down, especially since the virus is mutating and we don't know how effective the vaccines will be in the future?
I'm sure there is that concern, and I think the CDC must have weighed up the options they had here, that they want to try to reduce that social isolation, which of course has its own issues with it. They want to try to persuade more people to get vaccinated by showing that if they do, this extra part of life reopens up to them. But yes, of course, there is a concern about that, and that is why I think they've made it very clear that they are not lifting the restrictions on travel, still saying that travel is a bad idea. They say every time people travel here in the US, then case numbers surge, and they'll also be concerned about those variants that are circulating, and that is why they're saying that even if you've had the vaccination, you need to keep wearing your mask in public.
Right. All right, Kate, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast, and thank you for all your inputs on this story. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.